The city never truly slept. Even after midnight, the streets pulsed with restless energy. Endless lines of headlights stretched into the distance like rivers of light. Giant digital billboards flashed promises of happiness every few seconds. Luxury watches, faster cars, bigger homes, better bodies, better lives. Every screen whispered the same message. You are not enough. Yet, thousands of people hurried past one another without ever making eye contact. Everyone seemed to be chasing something: money, recognition, status, love, another promotion, another notification, another reason to believe tomorrow would finally feel different. Among them walked a man who looked successful by every modern standard. His tailored black suit fit perfectly. An expensive watch rested on his wrist. His phone vibrated constantly, with emails, messages, and reminders. His company was growing. His income had doubled in only 3 years. People admired him. Friends envied him. His parents proudly told everyone how well he was doing. Yet every night when the noise disappeared, something inside him became impossible to ignore. A silence. Not around him. Inside him. The kind of silence that asks questions no amount of money can answer. That evening had been no different. Another 12-hour workday, another successful meeting, another client. Convinced, another goal achieved. His co-workers celebrated. He smiled, he laughed, he shook hands. Then he walked out of the building, feeling strangely empty. As he crossed the street, his phone vibrated again. Another email, another deadline, another opportunity. He stared at the glowing screen. For a long moment, he did nothing. Then, without understanding why, he turned it off. The screen went black. It was the first time in months that complete silence entered his hands. Instead of walking toward the subway station, his feet carried him somewhere else. He had no destination, no plan, no reason. Only a strange feeling that going home would change nothing. The city slowly transformed as he walked. Glass skyscrapers gave way to older buildings. Traffic became quieter. Streetlights grew farther apart. Eventually, he reached an old park he barely remembered existed. Massive trees stretched toward the night sky. Ancient stone paths wound through the darkness. Victorian lamps cast pools of warm golden light onto the ground. Everything felt strangely untouched by time. He stepped inside. Immediately, the noise of the city faded. Not completely, just enough. For the first time in years, he could hear his own footsteps. He walked slowly, past an old fountain, past empty benches, past a small lake whose surface reflected the moon like polished silver. Then he noticed someone sitting alone beneath an enormous oak tree. An elderly man, perfectly dressed, long black coat, simple wooden cane resting beside him. A leather-bound book lay open across his lap. He was not reading. He was simply watching the water. The young man hesitated. Something about the stranger felt impossible to explain. He looked completely at peace. Not the artificial peace people displayed on social media. Real peace. The kind that cannot be performed. The old man slowly turned his head. Their eyes met. He smiled gently. Not with excitement. Not with surprise. Almost as if he had been expecting this meeting for a very long time. Then he spoke. "You're late." The young man looked behind him. The park was empty. "I'm sorry. I've been waiting." The younger man laughed awkwardly. "I think you've mistaken me for someone else." The old man closed his book with extraordinary care. "No, I haven't." A strange silence settled between them. Logic suggested walking away. Curiosity suggested staying. Curiosity won. He approached the bench. "May I?" The old man nodded. "Of course." The bench was cold. Neither of them spoke for several moments. The wind gently moved through the branches above them. Leaves drifted slowly toward the ground. Somewhere in the distance, an old church bell marked midnight. The younger man finally broke the silence. "I don't usually talk to strangers." The old man smiled. "No one does anymore." Another silence. Then the younger man asked, "Do you come here every night?" "Every night someone needs a conversation." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means tonight. It happened to be you." The answer was so unusual that it should have sounded ridiculous. Instead, it felt strangely comforting. The younger man leaned back. "I've had a terrible day." "No," the old man replied calmly. "You've had a terrible life disguised as productive days." The words struck harder than they should have. "That's quite a conclusion." "It isn't a conclusion. It's an observation." The young man laughed again. "You don't even know me." "I know enough. And what exactly do you know?" "I know your shoulders are carrying far more than your briefcase. I know you measure your value by your productivity. I know your phone controls your attention. I know you sleep beside anxiety and wake up beside ambition. I know people admire you, yet you rarely admire yourself." The younger man's smile disappeared. "How could you possibly know that?" The old man looked toward the lake. "Because your generation suffers from the same illness." "What illness?" "The belief that satisfaction lives one achievement ahead." The words echoed through the silence. Something inside him tightened. For reasons he couldn't explain, he wanted to argue. Instead, he asked another question. "What if you're wrong?" The old man nodded. "Then answer honestly. When was the last time you reached one of your biggest goals?" And it was enough. The younger man opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He searched his memory, the promotion, the apartment, the luxury car, the vacations, the salary. Each victory had felt extraordinary for a few days, sometimes a few weeks. Then another desire appeared, another mountain, another target, another version of happiness waiting somewhere in the future. The old man continued quietly. "You confuse movement with meaning. You confuse desire with fulfillment. You confuse success with peace." The younger man looked down. "Isn't that normal?" "It is. Then why does it feel so empty?" The old man smiled with a sadness that seemed centuries old. "Because normal and healthy are not the same thing." The younger man remained silent. The stranger reached for the old leather-bound book resting beside him. Its cover was worn with age. The pages had turned a deep shade of gold. He gently ran his fingers across it. "May I ask you something?" "Of course. If tomorrow morning your bank account doubled, would you finally be at peace?" The younger man answered immediately. "Probably not." "If everyone on earth admired you, would you stop comparing yourself?" "No." "If every dream you currently have suddenly became reality, would your mind stop inventing new desires?" He hesitated, then slowly shook his head. "No." The old man closed his eyes. "As I expected." The younger man leaned forward. "So what exactly is wrong with me?" The old man opened the book. "No, there is nothing wrong with you. There is something wrong with what you've been taught." The wind grew stronger. Leaves circled through the air before settling once again. The younger man looked at the old book. "What are you reading?" The stranger turned the cover toward him. No title, only faded leather. "An old friend." The younger man smiled. "You speak strangely." "I speak slowly. There is a difference." For the first time that night, The younger man genuinely laughed, and for the first time in many years. It did not feel forced. The old man looked at the ripples spreading across the lake. For a long time, he said nothing. The younger man noticed something unusual. He did not seem to think before speaking. He seemed to wait, as if every word deserved the right moment to exist. Finally, he broke the silence. When I was a young man, people chased wealth. They still do. They chased admiration. They still do. They believed that one more possession would finally quiet the mind. They still believe that. He smiled faintly. The scenery changes. The human heart rarely does. The younger man folded his arms. If that's true, then what's the point? Should I stop working? Stop building my career? Stop trying to succeed? The old man turned toward him with genuine curiosity. Did I ever say that? No. But it sounds like you're criticizing ambition. I am criticizing slavery. There is a difference. The younger man frowned. What do you mean? You own a watch. Yes. Does the watch belong to you? Or do you belong to the watch? He instinctively looked at the expensive timepiece on his wrist. I bought it. But how often do you look at it? He laughed. Every few minutes. And when you do, are you checking the time? Or checking your life? The younger man remained silent. Schopenhauer continued. The modern world has created a remarkable illusion. It convinces people they own many things, when in reality, many things own them. He pointed gently toward the dark city beyond the trees. Those buildings are filled with people. They believe they are making choices, but countless decisions were already made for them. They wake when the alarm tells them. They eat when the schedule allows. They smile because business requires it. They buy what advertising recommends. They dream dreams someone else designed. And one day, they call that freedom. The younger man looked toward the skyline. The glowing towers suddenly appeared different, not beautiful, restless. He spoke quietly. I've never thought about it that way. Most people never do. They are too busy surviving expectations. A cold breeze crossed the park. The young man pulled his coat tighter. I always believed success would bring peace. Schopenhauer nodded. So does almost everyone. And doesn't it? It brings comfort, sometimes security, occasionally admiration. But peace, he slowly shook his head. Peace belongs to another world entirely. The younger man stared at the water. So why does every achievement feel smaller than I imagined? Schopenhauer smiled. Because desire is clever. It never tells you the truth. It whispers. Just one more promotion, one more investment, one more vacation, one more relationship, one more house, one more victory. And after every victory, it quietly changes the destination. The younger man laughed softly. That sounds exactly like my life. It sounds like nearly everyone's life. Schopenhauer leaned back against the bench. I once compared human existence to a pendulum. The younger man looked interested. A pendulum? Yes. It swings endlessly between desire and boredom. When you do not possess something, you suffer because you want it. When you finally possess it, the excitement fades. Then boredom arrives. So you invent another desire. The pendulum swings again. The younger man's expression slowly changed, almost as if memories were arranging themselves into a new pattern. My first apartment. I dreamed about it for years, and after 2 months, I wanted a bigger one. Schopenhauer nodded. My first promotion. I celebrated for an entire weekend. 3 weeks later, I was already thinking about the next position. Schopenhauer remained silent. My first luxury car. I thought it would change everything. It didn't. I only started comparing it with more expensive ones. The old philosopher smiled. Now you understand. The younger man lowered his head. So, I've been chasing something that cannot be caught. You have been chasing satisfaction through objects. But satisfaction is not an object. It is a relationship. A relationship. A relationship with your own desires. Silence settled again. The wind carried fallen leaves across the path. Far away, a train crossed the city. Its sound slowly disappeared into the night. The younger man asked, "If desire creates suffering, should I stop desiring altogether?" Schopenhauer looked at him carefully. "No, that would be impossible. But you can decide. Which desires deserve your life?" The younger man remained completely still. Every desire costs time. It costs attention. It costs energy. Sometimes it costs your peace. So, before pursuing anything, you should ask a different question. He waited. Not, "Can I have it?" but, "What will it require me to become?" The younger man whispered the sentence to himself. "What will it require me to become?" Schopenhauer nodded. Many fortunes have been built by men who became poor. The younger man looked confused. That doesn't make sense. Oh, it does. They accumulated money, but lost friendships. They accumulated status, but lost sleep. They accumulated influence, but lost themselves. They became rich and impoverished at exactly the same time. The younger man stared into the darkness. His thoughts drifted toward people he admired, executives, celebrities, entrepreneurs. For the first time, he wondered what their nights looked like. Schopenhauer watched him carefully. You are beginning to ask better questions. I think I'm beginning to ask the first real questions of my life. The philosopher smiled. Good. Because better questions create better lives. The younger man hesitated. May I ask something personal? You may ask anything. Were you happy? Schopenhauer laughed quietly. The sound carried neither pride nor bitterness. I was observant. Is that the same thing? No. It is more useful. The younger man smiled. You don't seem interested in comforting people. I am interested in freeing them. There is a difference. He paused. Comfort often protects illusions. Truth destroys them, and destruction can be an act of mercy. The younger man looked toward the sleeping city one more time. For years, those buildings had represented success. Tonight, they looked like thousands of illuminated cages. He suddenly realized something. His phone. Without thinking, he reached into his pocket. The screen remained dark. For the first time in years, he had forgotten it existed. He looked back at the old philosopher. I've spent my entire life trying to own the world. Schopenhauer answered almost immediately. And how much of yourself did you lose while trying? The question landed like a stone in deep water. Neither man spoke, because some answers can only be heard in silence. The younger man remained motionless. The question lingered in the air, long after the words had been spoken. How much of yourself did you lose while trying? He searched for an answer. Nothing came. Not because there wasn't one, because there were too many. He remembered the vacations where he never stopped checking his email, The birthdays he attended while thinking about work, the conversations he never truly listened to, the friendships that slowly disappeared because there was always another meeting, another deadline, another opportunity, another excuse. He closed his eyes. I don't think I know who I am anymore. Schopenhauer did not answer immediately. Instead, he picked up a small stone from the ground and gently tossed it into the lake. The circles spread across the water until they disappeared into the darkness. You are not alone. Most people never become themselves. They become what is useful, what is expected, what is profitable. They become excellent actors, but poor human beings. The younger man looked at him. Can someone find himself again? The old philosopher smiled. You cannot find what was never lost. You can only remove what has been covering it. The young man frowned. I don't understand. When you were born, you needed nothing to prove your worth. You did not compare yourself. You did not calculate your value. You simply existed. Then the world arrived. It told you who you should become. It taught you what success looked like. It sold you thousands of desires and called them dreams. He paused. The greatest deception is not believing a lie. It is forgetting that it is a lie. The younger man looked toward the sky. The clouds had begun to separate. A few stars finally appeared. So, what should I do tomorrow? Schopenhauer laughed softly. You, modern men, always ask about tomorrow. You are standing in the middle of the only moment that exists, and your thoughts are already somewhere else. The younger man smiled. I suppose you're right. I know. Another silence. It no longer felt uncomfortable. It felt peaceful, almost necessary. The philosopher leaned forward. Listen carefully. I will not tell you how to become rich. There are thousands who can do that. I will not tell you how to become famous. The world already has too many teachers of vanity. I will tell you something far more valuable. Protect your attention. The younger man looked surprised. My attention? The world no longer steals men's money. It steals their minds. Attention is life. Where your attention goes, your existence follows. If someone controls your attention, they quietly begin controlling your life. The younger man slowly reached into his pocket once more. He held the black screen of his phone in his hand. It suddenly looked small, powerless. I've given this more hours than I've given my own family. Schopenhauer nodded. And it still asks for more. The young man placed it back into his pocket. This time, without urgency, the philosopher continued. Protect your mornings. They belong to your soul before they belong to the world. Protect your evenings. They determine the man you wake up as tomorrow. Protect your solitude. A man who cannot remain alone will spend his life choosing the wrong company. The younger man listened without interrupting. Every sentence felt less like advice and more like remembering something he had always known. What about success? Schopenhauer smiled. Success is a wonderful servant and a terrible master. Build your career, create wealth, honor your responsibilities, but never ask success to give you what only wisdom can. Peace. The wind had almost disappeared. The park had become completely still. The younger man suddenly realized he had lost all sense of time. It no longer mattered. He looked toward the philosopher. Can I ask one final question? You've been asking questions all night. But yes, if you could leave my generation with only one lesson, what would it be? Schopenhauer looked toward the horizon. The first faint light of dawn was beginning to paint the sky. When he finally spoke, his voice was almost a whisper. Desire less. Observe more. Possess less. Appreciate more. Speak less. Understand more. Chase less. Become more. The younger man's eyes filled with tears. Not from sadness, from recognition. It felt as though someone had spent hours describing a home he had forgotten existed. He whispered, "I've been running my entire life." Schopenhauer looked at him. "And where has it taken you?" The young man smiled through the silence. "Back to this bench. For the first time, I don't feel like running anymore." The philosopher stood slowly. He picked up his cane, closed the old leather-bound book. The young man stood as well. "I don't want this conversation to end." "It won't. You'll continue it every morning, without me." The younger man hesitated. "Will I ever see you again?" Schopenhauer's smile carried both kindness and mystery. "You will, every time you refuse to become a slave to another unnecessary desire, every time you choose peace over appearance, every time you protect your mind from noise, every time you remember that enough is already a form of wealth." The first rays of sunlight crossed the lake. The young man instinctively turned toward the light. It lasted only a second. When he looked back, the bench was empty. The old man was gone. Only the ancient leather-bound book remained. He stepped closer, with trembling hands. He opened the cover. Inside, on the first page, only a single sentence had been written. "The greatest wealth a man can possess is needing very little." He closed the book gently. For a long time, he simply stood there. The city was beginning to wake. Traffic slowly returned. Phones would soon begin vibrating. Meetings would begin. Deadlines would return. The world had not changed, but something inside him had. He reached into his pocket one last time. His phone lit up instantly. 37 unread messages, 12 emails, 3 missed calls. For the first time in years, he smiled. Not because everything was solved, because he finally understood that not everything deserved his attention. He slipped the phone back into his pocket without opening a single notification. Then he began walking home. Not faster, not slower, simply present. Some people spend their entire lives searching for the right teacher. Others discover that the right teacher appears only after the right question has finally been asked. Perhaps that mysterious meeting never happened. Perhaps it happened exactly as you have heard it. In the end, that no longer matters. The only question that remains is this: if Arthur Schopenhauer were sitting beside you tonight, what illusion would he ask you to abandon before the sun rises? If this conversation found you at the right moment, write in the comments, "Today, I choose peace over desire." Not for this channel, not for anyone else, for yourself. Because the day a man stops chasing everything, he finally becomes free enough to discover what truly matters. And perhaps that is the quiet secret Arthur Schopenhauer had been trying to tell the world all along. The happiest man is not the one who possesses the most, but the one who no longer needs the world to complete him.